Thanks to the Japanese company iSpace, we are super close to an affordable, cutting-edge lunar exploration program that will finally give us a frequent commercial moon delivery service. Officially, it's a private space program, but who are they trying to kid here? They are working closely with JAXA, NASA, ESA, including the Luxembourg Space Agency, UAE Space Agency, the Space Agency of Taiwan, which are all government agencies in case you didn't know, and SpaceX. By the way, did you know that SpaceX was basically bankrupt in 2008 and NASA saved them by giving them a $1.6 billion contract? And now the private company SpaceX and the private company Blue Origin are partnering with NASA and the US Space Force? So yeah, all so-called private space companies are working with and are heavily funded by governments. We are talking billions of dollars here and are about as private as Northrop Grumman, the company that makes bombs, missiles, drones and aircraft like the B-2, the B-21 and the F-35 for the US government. Northrop Grumman was also key back in the day in making the Apollo lunar landers. Back then they were called Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation though. Coincidentally, Northrop Grumman partner now with Firefly Aerospace, another wannabe private company, who also happen to have been on the same Falcon 9 rocket that brought Hakuto-R to the moon from NASA's very own Kennedy Space Center. If you think these companies are private, you are wrong. Plain and simple. Anyway, iSpace tried on June 5, 2025 to land a state-of-the-art, top-notch, mega-sophisticated piece of high-tech on the moon, and oh my, they crashed. Because of some software miscalculation and because space is hard or something. And just like every other space agency footage, they showed us lots and lots of CGI before they crashed and then game over. Compare that with another so-called private company, Intuitive Machines, who recently received $4.6 billion from NASA, yeah, that's our tax money, and who allegedly landed on the moon in 2023 and 2025 with IM-1 Odysseus and IM-2 Athena. Both landers tipped over and fell short of the expectation though. Oh, soft landings on the moon are really hard, with ultra high-tech, you know. Here's something you should consider though. In 1970, the Russians sent an automated lander to the moon and succeeded not only in landing it, but they also deployed their rover Lunokhod 1 there and remotely operated it for 11 months. So the latest 2025 Japanese high-tech 10-kilo micro-rover could not land on the moon because space is hard and stuff, but some 756-kilogram Soviet piece of junk rover from 1970s could? With a seismic leap in technology and over 1 million times more advanced computer technology, it's somehow too difficult to land on the moon today? And you believe that? Well, that's interesting. I could also tell you about Luna 9 at this point, which allegedly successfully soft landed on the moon in 1966, with analog electronics including 3 kilobit of magnetic tape storage, 0 autonomy, slow analog TV scan and grainy black and white image stream. Manually remote controlled from somewhere deep in Soviet Russia, but let's just pretend that didn't happen. Comparing the 2025 Hakuto-R, or Intuitive Machines lander, with 1970 Lunokhod 1 is like comparing a supercomputer with a toaster. So apparently, if we would like to have some reliable, affordable and repeatable technology to get to the moon and back, we should ditch 55 years of technology advancements and just go back to bulky analog computers. Seriously, who needs modern day processing power and memory? Just go analog only again and forget about multi-gigabyte flash, ARM and FPGA computing. We never needed that million to a billion increase of effective computational power anyway, apparently. Instead of a controlled to smart onboard autonomy with real-time decisions, we should go back to using no autonomy whatsoever, and instead of multi-sensor fusion navigation, laser IMU and star trackers, just go back to human-guided controls only. No 4K HD cameras needed, just revert to good old slow stream black and white low-resolution cameras. That stuff worked at least. And why use 1 megabit per second encrypted digital telemetry when we can just use 1 kilobit per second analog frames for communication? Who needs automated real-time self-diagnosis and sensor filtering logic when we could just rely on good old human intervention? Haku2R and IM2 represent a seismic qualitative leap, and not just some incremental improvement over Lunokhod 1 in computational power, autonomy, sensor integration, communications and mission robustness. In raw computing and electronics terms, it's safe to say Haku2R and IM2 are at least 1 million times more advanced than Lunokhod 1, reflecting over 5 decades of technological evolution. No, I'm not pulling these numbers out from where the sun don't shine. I used state-of-the-art AI to research this information. Something else we don't need to pre-program land something on the moon apparently, because they didn't have that either in 1970. And while we are at it, the Soviets landed another toaster, rover, on Mars in 1971. Just look at Mars 3. I admit, this intro was kinda dry and very technical, but it's had to be. The purpose was to make you think critically about all of these wild space claims, to open your mind to the possibility that you have been lied to on a massive scale. Let's now have a look at the aforementioned Firefly Aerospace with their Blue Ghost lander, shall we? This thing allegedly landed successfully on the moon this year, but something about the footage doesn't seem right. First of all, let's look at the drilling into the moon surface. It looks like it's drilling into bare moon rock. So, did the rocket exhaust from the lander blow all the moon dust away, or did they just duct tape a leaf blower to it for that purpose? And why can we see sparks flying all over the place in a zero oxygen environment? Many thanks to Josh from Founded Earth Brothers for pointing out that this definitely doesn't make any sense whatsoever. If the Blue Ghost lander rocket exhaust blew away all the moon dust so it could directly drill into the bare moon rock, then why did the 10,000 pound thrust Apollo lunar module rocket not blow away any moon dust and reveal bare moon rock when the Eagle allegedly landed there in 1969? And if we compare the 2025 Blue Ghost moon drilling operation with the 2020 Chinese moon drilling video, we see that the Chinese space drill is digging through some moon dust here and not directly into moon rock, so I guess their lander's rocket exhaust didn't blow away enough moon dust either, just like back in '69. Also, the Chinese moon seems to be yellow, the American moon grey, and as we have seen earlier, the Soviet-Russian moon was brown. So it sure looks like we have at least 3 different moons in orbit around our Earth out there, according to the heliocentric space religion. This is a classic case of telling lies. More and more lies are needed to keep the original lie going. And at some point the lies start to contradict each other, so they constantly have to keep on making up more nonsense to defend the original nonsense. Admittedly, nowadays the graphics are pretty good and more than sufficient to convince the spellbound masses. At the end of the day, it's still just computer graphics though. And the sad thing is, even when they show you straight up lousy cartoons, you don't mind. Not because you are uneducated and unintelligent, but because you are educated. Meaning indoctrinated to just mindlessly repeat what you have been taught in early childhood and throughout all of your life. And yes, you are intelligent, but you lack wisdom. Without wisdom, all your knowledge is worthless, and it makes you do, say, think and believe foolish things. For example, foolish things like we landed men on the moon in 1969 and a robot rover on it in 1970, but it's really hard to do that again nowadays, after 55 years of technological advancements. Yes, you heard that right. We did not land on the moon from 1969 to 1972. And yes, over 400,000 people were involved in the Apollo program, and you think they never could have kept it a secret with so many people involved. But think again, please. Over 20,000 companies were working on that project. Why would they go from door to door and tell everyone, "Oh, and by the way, we're faking it. Don't tell anyone, or else." Why would they have to tell the guys making the lunar module that they are going to fake the whole thing? Or the guys making the spacesuits, or the guys working on the batteries, the radio antenna, or any other piece of equipment? Most people only knew their immediate task or role, and nothing beyond that. That's what compartmentalization is all about. Have you ever heard about the Manhattan Project? 130,000 people worked on that, and only a few knew what they were ultimately building there. So yeah, government agencies can actually keep secrets. especially when there's a lot of money involved and terms like national security are thrown in with it. NASA's total inflation-adjusted budget since 1958 is estimated between 1.3 and 2.2 trillion, with a T, dollars, depending on how inflation is calculated. In 1964, they had about $41 billion, in 1965 it was $49 billion, and in 1966 about $55 billion, and those are low estimates. If you really think a government organization with a budget like that cannot keep any big secrets, well, good for you, that you're such an honest person and wouldn't lie about something like that. But you cannot use yourself as a standard for everyone on this earth. Sorry.
The service module RCS engines are similar to those used in the command module. Both are fueled with hypergolic propellants and are controllable from a maximum one-time burn of 500 seconds to a large number of pulse firings as short as 20 milliseconds.
This ridiculous footage is what they showed us to prove that they really landed on the moon. What you are seeing here, though, is pretty obvious 1960s Hollywood special effects. They claim that you cannot see the reaction control system jets because they used hypergolic fuels. But the Apollo RCS test firing footage I just showed was using the same kind of fuels, so nope, that's not a valid point. If you'd like to see more footage of visible exhaust jets using hypergolic propellants, including a test in a vacuum chamber and over 40 undebunkable proofs why we didn't land on the moon, please watch the American Moon documentary. I'll leave a link in the description. And now compare the official NASA Hollywood footage from 1969 with this Hollywood movie from 1964. It's pretty much the exact same special effect. Thanks a lot to Level Earth Observer for this excellent observation. Cheers, mate. Do you see it? If you don't, please open your eyes or switch from your phone to watching this video on a bigger screen. And if you do actually see it, do you understand what's wrong with this? Please pay close attention now and buckle up, because this is a death blow to NASA's moon landing story. A solid coffin nail. There's literally no way to debunk this. Of course some will try, but no, they can't. I showed this scene several times in the past, and I knew that this is undeniable proof that they faked the whole thing, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what we are actually seeing here. Officially, this shows the rendezvous of the Apollo 14 lunar module and the command and service module shortly before docking with each other, after the lunar module lifted off from the moon. So why would there be some sort of wires or hydraulic hoses in space? You can clearly see it when the light is reflecting off of the command module. No amount of torque will make that go away. Now, let's compare the alleged 1971 Apollo 14 space footage with this Apollo docking simulator video from 1967. If you cannot see that both are the exact same thing, based on the way these wannabe spacecraft are wobbling and moving around exactly the same way in the simulation and the real deal, with a special attention to the absence of RCS, thruster exhaust jets, and if that isn't damning enough already, add the wires or hydraulic hoses in space that not only look the same in the 71 space footage and in the 67 docking simulation video, but are actually one and the same thing. If you really cannot discern what's going on here, then sadly, there is something seriously wrong with the way you think, and what you experience right now is called cognitive dissonance. I am sorry for being so blunt here, please forgive me, but it's the truth. And I'm not here to judge you, I was the same like you before I woke up to what's really going on. What we have here is irrefutable evidence that they didn't go to the moon, and that contradicts millions of people's deeply held belief. And that in turn is why they experience mental discomfort, dissonance, when confronted with it. But instead of changing their belief, which may feel like a threat to their identity, worldview or self-worth, they do one or more of the following. They say, that can't be true, this source must be fake. So they reject the evidence outright. Or they say, sure, that happened, but it doesn't mean my overall belief is wrong. so they twist logic to reduce discomfort. Or they seek out new information that supports their belief and ignore the contradictory proof I'm showing you here, for example by looking at any of the numerous moon hoax debunking videos, without realizing that these debunkers are either working directly or indirectly for NASA, or that they are deceived themselves and are twisting logic not to have to go through the process of changing their deeply held beliefs. Or they separate conflicting beliefs in their mind and avoid thinking about the contradiction. Or they attack the source, in this case, me. They say I'm biased or manipulated or brainwashed or stupid or whatever they want to call me. I become the problem, not their wrongly held belief.
And I was very excited, and so in order to contain that excitement, to be calm and collected, I had to remind myself frequently as we were coming in that I was back in the simulator. Back in the simulator.
Well said, Jim. Landing on the moon, you were back in the simulator. Gotta love those Freudian slips. Moving on, let's have a closer look at this rare photo. It's so rare that you might think they're actually trying to hide it. The caption reads as follows. NY July 27 Gemini Flight Simulator trains spaceman. Captain William A. Anders, U.S. astronaut, operates the controls of a machine simulating outer space flight as he trains for the 2-man extended orbital flight of a Gemini capsule. The training session was in the Ling Temco Vault plant at Grand Prairie near Dallas, Texas on July 24. Projected image moon in background heightens his illusion of space travel. AP wire photo F21032I something 1964. Yes, they had the technology in 1964 to project fairly realistic looking background images of the moon onto a screen for training purposes. And this was 5 years before they pretended to land men on the moon. With a budget of billions upon billions of dollars, I am confident they could create even better illusions from 1965 to 1972 and beyond. And yeah, that's what they actually ended up doing. Let's have a quick look at this Gemini 9 simulator footage from 1966 and compare it with the real Gemini 4 footage from 1965. Please note that the original 1965 video is pretty low quality, and what you can find nowadays on YouTube and elsewhere is restored or enhanced or improved in some way or other. Video quality, and with it the means of deception, improved over time, but space helmet technology apparently didn't. Back in the good old days, space helmets like the one W.I.P was using here could swivel and give the astronauts an improved field of vision and freedom of movement during so-called EVAs. But the complex bearing mechanism in the Gemini helmet introduced potential engineering difficulties and the danger of malfunction, so they ditched that idea and went with fixed bubble helmets later. Or they figured out that people would realize a swiveling space helmet like that couldn't ever realistically be sealed properly in a vacuum, and so they swept that idea under the rug, like so many other nonsensical space tales. In the end, you decide. But this seems to be another case of old space technology being better than new space tech because of some nebulous reason or other. You have to admit, though, that the Earth here could very well be a projection, just like the moon projection in the 1964 AP wire photo. And this Gemini 9 training video shows the same style turning table Earth background like this real Gemini 4 video. And here, Earth is going from round and curvy to flat and concave, showing a wide angle or so-called fisheye lens at work. What's the significance of this? Well, even flat surfaces look curved when viewed through a fisheye lens, so you wouldn't even know if they were orbiting a physically impossible globe just by looking at their little movie. And how would any of the guys working on these old computers even know if the signals they receive were really from space? They are looking at some numbers and some blinking lights, while listening and reacting to radio signals, and wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a simulation or a real mission. Only the top brass and a few selected team members would really know for sure. Now let's have a look at Chapter 13, page 211 of Failure is Not an Option by Gene Kranz. In the late 1960s, our simulation technology had progressed to the point where it became virtually impossible to separate the training from the actual missions. The simulations became full dress rehearsals for the missions down to the smallest detail. The simulation tested the crew's and controllers' responses to normal and emergency conditions. It checked out the exact flight plan, mission rules and procedures that the crew and controllers would use for the flight. Just look up the unmanned Russian Zond 5 mission, September 1968. Pavel Popovich was in the command center in Yevpatoria, Crimea, when he took the mic and said, "The flight is proceeding according to normal. We are approaching the surface." Seconds later, his report, as if from outer space, was received on Earth by American operators, which alerted the CIA and prompted Tricky Dick Nixon to call NASA and ask them why the Russians are reporting from the moon. So no, some ground control operator receiving some space signal on his station wouldn't really know if that signal is really from space or just bounced off the firmament or some satelloon. His overall knowledge is limited by his immediate task, his equipment, and by his belief in what he is told. And that goes for all the space missions all over our beautiful stationary Earth, whether you like it or not. But there's some independent reports from private ham radio operators who picked up the Apollo transmissions from space and from the moon, right? Sure. If you believe that some mad scientist came up with some military-grade Doppler radar in his backyard to track the spacecraft and hooked that up to his hobby radio antenna and then broke into some encrypted government space agency signal from space, then yes. Else that didn't happen either. Please don't be silly.
By June, Apollo 11, the first moon landing attempt, is only 4 weeks away. Behind the scenes at Mission Control, Gene Kranz's team is training, simulating the landing.
The simulations were so real that no controller could discern the difference between the training and the real mission.
The teaching of the Jesuits taught me to ask difficult questions and to seek answers. It also taught me to listen and then, when necessary, take charge and move.
The Jesuits are the guys who brought us diabolical lies like the Big Bang, evolution, the heliocentric model, the globe life, fake space, aliens, and all kinds of other nasty things. Please have a look at the Heliosorcery documentary and or read a book or two about them if you can spare some time. Thank you. Let's now continue with some historical Skylab space fakery. Yes, it looks slightly better than the Gemini or Apollo productions, but we are still looking at a model in front of some sort of Earth projection here. If you cannot see this for what it really is, I am truly sorry for you. Well, maybe this next clip will help to open your eyes.
There's our home in the sky, Dick. Well, the old parasol, Dick, is really blowing in the breeze. Looks like about a 10 or 15 knot gale every time the thrusters fire in just a very gentle fly around here.
This piece of equipment, weighing 76 tons, was allegedly going 17,111 miles per hour around Earth at an altitude of 270 miles. And you believe that this gold foil parasol, which was rigged to it to protect it from the extreme temperatures of space, was flapping around in the breeze like that? Wow. Your belief in space must have some very deep roots indeed.
Okay, copy.
This is Apollo Control. Apparently the TPI maneuver was indeed successful. Tom Stafford reported from Apollo that he was station keeping with Soyuz. Both control centers, Moscow and Houston, have given a go for docking.
Soyuz, Apollo, track switches. Good show. Let's stay there. Look at
I am approaching Soyuz.
Tom, please don't forget about your engine.
Less than 5 meters distance.
3 meters.
3 meters.
13 meters.
Doesn't this Apollo-Soyuz docking footage look eerily familiar? You cannot see any attitude control exhaust jets, just like in the old Apollo Rendezvous and Docking Simulator recording. even though in later Soyuz vids you can clearly see the exhaust jets. I don't know. Maybe they sprinkled the Soyuz and Apollo spacecraft with pixie dust. Or something in 75, and that's how it worked.
In the Mediterranean right now. Apollo Houston through and we're hearing your calls.
Roger. We've docked everything was on time, folks.
After some 3 hours, the two spacecraft separate for the last time, and Apollo maneuvers into position for the final joint experiment. Ultraviolet absorption, the measurement of oxygen and nitrogen particles in the upper atmosphere. Apollo directs light beams of...
But even if they did that or used some other sort of witchcraft, the following Apollo-Soyuz tape still looks super fake and reveals all kinds of artifacts in the middle of nowhere where there shouldn't be anything. And again, no visible attitude control jets whatsoever are making no sense at all, considering all the movement that's happening here. Are you seeing some sort of trend about the general authenticity of outer space footage? I hope and pray that you do. Next up, the infamous space shuttle mission STS-8, 1983, with the face-in fake space behind the shuttle model. Yes, many will say that this has been debunked already, but again, debunked by who? By people working indirectly or directly for NASA? Or by die-hard space fans who just cannot let go of their love for Space Santa Claus? No, it is not a reflection on the inside of the shuttle window. You can clearly see the guy behind that model, and even if he wasn't there, the little satellite that's twirling out of the cargo bay looks so fake that it's beyond ridiculous. Here's a clip by Terry from Flat Out Truth Resurrection to crush the window reflection claim. The filter makes it even easier to see this for what it is. A very detailed large-scale shuttle toy model made by NASA's very own model builders. They don't really put clips like this into new documentaries, but no, they do not have to go back and fix stuff like this either, because only a handful of nerds watch old space videos anyway, and the spellbound masses cannot see the truth because of the spell that they are under, and the enemy just loves to mock the few people who have the spiritual discernment to see through the charade. 2 Corinthians 4:4. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. What would be the best way to deceive mankind into believing the Holy Bible was just some dusty old book, and Jesus just some silly old story? Maybe by making them believe that they live on a spinning, wobbling ball racing through infinity, being a byproduct of some random cosmic explosion, and by making them believe they evolved from monkeys, and showing them images from space 24/7, and spread rumors about other worlds and aliens and whatnot, all of which directly contradicts everything that is written in the Holy Bible about Earth and its creation. And no, dear fellow Christians, only because someone debunked this or fact-checked it for you doesn't prove what I'm saying is wrong. Fact-check it for yourself, and don't just blindly trust in people who you don't really know anything about, beyond what they want you to know. Romans 3:4. God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar. For starters, just look at the longest day in the book of Joshua 10:12-14, and try to explain that historical event with living on a spinning ball without twisting Holy Scripture into something it's not. Oh right, you can't. If you'd like to dive deeper into this topic, please don't just do a casual Google or YouTube or AI search. All you will find is a mountain of misinformation. Please have a look at the video to share with your pastor instead, or Pastor Omar Thibault's excellent sermon series about biblical cosmology, and check out the channels and books that I will link in the description of this video. The video that's playing right now is showing the same scene twice. The first one is STS-32 in 1990, and the other one is STS-78 in 1996. Yeah, they used the very same special effect twice for two different missions, and then slightly altered the second clip to pass it off as new. That's your tax dollars at work, fooling you into believing that they went to space, when in fact most of it is created in some studio or other here on Earth. If you are okay with that, I don't even know what to say. Thanks a lot to Ben from Taboo Conspiracy for this little gem.
I'm telling you, I've done a lot of these interviews, well, a few of them from space. The technology now is amazing. The picture, guys, you look like you're in a studio, maybe in Omaha, Nebraska or something. The shot is so clear. Is this a hoax? Are you really in space still?
See the hair?
I don't know. We're going to have to do something for you.
I want to do it. I know.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Watch this.
You can choose to ignore all the obvious fakery going on here. The problem with Chris Ferguson's wire, Doug Hurley grabbing one of the wires to help him, the lady in the background who is obviously hanging upside down in a studio as her red face is showing, and her preposterous hairspray. You can ignore the uncomfortable truth and embrace the comforting lie. But why would you do that? Anyway, let's focus now on STS-127, an earlier mission also featuring Doug Hurley.
We haven't been up there very long. And after
the ISS CGI layer is sticking into the thick window frame of the shuttle here. Is it just a terrible special FX fail? Tongue-in-cheek whistleblowing or outright mockery of the few with eyes to see? It doesn't really matter, because either way, it's fake. In reality, you cannot see objects outside of your house by looking through the window frame while being on the inside of your house. That's just not how it works. It is physically impossible, just like the globe Earth. People like Simon Dan, Professor Dave and Dave McKeegan, though, will tell you that this is just a shadow and not the actual window frame, but sorry, that's not true, which you can easily conclude by comparing the window frame glitch of STS-127 with other STS missions where they didn't allow this to happen. Just take STS-49. Here you can clearly see that the black frame isn't some shadow, and that objects on the outside of the window aren't usually visible through the thick black frame, only every now and then when they allow it. Fact check the fact checkers yourself, and don't just blindly trust them. You don't know if they are just naive and deceived or have some hidden agenda behind their claims. There are literally people out there who lie for a living. On STS-112 we have the same thing like on mission STS-127. The ISS projection or CGI layer, whatever special effect this actually is, being visible through the thick window frame, which is utter nonsense. Not only does this unmask the space shuttle as being fake, but also the ISS. And don't worry, there's plenty of proof that they are faking the inside of the ISS too, and not only the outside. And if you compare what we just saw with STS-88, where you cannot see through the window frame, you should understand what is wrong with the STS-112 window frame glitch. Although STS-88 has some issues too, especially with the globe projection in the background here, which stops moving for a moment. I wonder what would happen if the spinning globe fantasy Earth actually would stop moving for a second.
Happen if the Earth stopped rotating for a second?
Oh, yeah, that would be disastrous. Disastrous, because right now, here in New York, you can calculate at our latitude, we are all moving with the Earth at 800 miles an hour, due east, because Earth is rotating. If you stopped Earth and you weren't seat belt buckled to the Earth, you would fall over and roll 800 miles an hour due east.
Right, I remember now. It was a cold December day, 1998. I was lying peacefully in my bed when suddenly, BAM! I was catapulted against the wall. It was such a disastrous day. It even made the news.
Ducking and everything, died in the house. I got scared. I dropped my hot pocket.
Of course, it was the space shuttle, which is an incredible machine that got us up here. And once we got up here, Mike Foale, Claude Nicollier, Steve Smith, and myself got to get into our own spacesuits, our own spaceships, in orbit around Earth. And these are incredible machines, and they allowed us to fix the Hubble Space Telescope. We'd sincerely like to thank all those folks at the Johnson Space Center, at Hamilton Sunstrand, ILC Dover, at Boeing, and all the various subcontractors that contribute to these great spacesuits, and all the tools that we use. We had over 500 piece parts out here to do our job, the tools, and of course all the training that we had to do at our large swimming pool, the neutral buoyancy facility. And without that large team, this couldn't have happened. And I know I feel especially privileged, as do all the crew members on board, And personally, as an astronomer, as are Mike and Claude Nicollier, to have had the chance to work on the world's greatest telescope. And we hope to see it back in service very soon. And from the crew of Discovery, the STS-103 Hubble mission, we'd also like to wish everybody happy holidays and some peace on Earth.
Like Level Earth observers so beautifully put it. That made for a really nice story, but when the second astronaut popped up whack-a-mole style and his visor showed the reflections of rows of lights, it was kinda ruined. The lights reflected in his helmet visor perfectly matched the rows of lights in NASA's buoyancy pool. It sure looks like the real Hubble Space Telescope was mounted on a modified Boeing 747 SP aircraft called Sophia, and these two guys were working on a mock-up HST in a pool, and not on a real telescope somewhere in low Earth orbit. It is true, some of these so-called spacewalks are filmed underwater in buoyancy pools, which explains the way they move in some of the footage, and why we can see bubbles in space and a scuba diver in the reflection of this Russian cosmonaut's helmet. And why they jokingly put equipment on the space station that are labeled oceaneering space systems. If you cannot see the bubbles rising up, just like air bubbles do underwater, in an environment where they keep on telling us there is no up or down, please go to your local optometrist and have an eye exam. And if you actually can see the bubbles, but then try to explain them away by claiming that we are just seeing some specks of paint or something, consider what I said earlier about cognitive dissonance. And yeah, I know this little bouncy door is officially called a W.I.P shield, and it allegedly protects them against micrometeorites. And they keep track of space debris size 10 cm and larger, but what about one of the millions of untracked pieces of space trash, let's say a 9 cm sized one? It would rip right through this piece of tarp, and the whole station going 17,500 miles per hour, cause explosive decompression and kill them all in mere seconds. Never happened in the 20 years of the ISS being up there, because they are just lucky, right? Right. Anyway, if you'd like to see some more bubbles in space, please have a look at my video with that title. Next up, STS-109. Here we can see the typical space rocket trajectory. The shuttle goes up, and after reaching the apex of the flight, it goes down again. Funny how they always try to go sideways into space. It's almost like they know that there is a firm firmament above us all, and instead of smashing right into it, they go up, then sideways, and then down into the big rocket graveyard in the Bermuda Triangle, and whatever the other nation's space agency's equivalent of that is.
High enough to get into the sun. About 8.5 minutes after liftoff, we're in space. The engine's cut off. You go from 3 Gs to 0 Gs all of a sudden, and things start to float if they're not tied down.
Yep, things start to float if they are not tied down in NASA's Special Effects department. And apparently they also just magically appear out of thin air, just like this chips clip or whatever that is supposed to be. In the post-flight presentation of STS-49, we see them wrestling heroically with a big satellite. But once you know that it's all just a diabolical charade, you see this with different eyes. To me, this looks like they are in a full-scale shuttle mock-up. The actors and the satellite prop are hanging on wires, and the impossible globe Earth in the background is just a projection. By the way, the rest of the crew inside the shuttle are wearing no safety gear whatsoever. In some of the older videos you can see them sporting polo shirts and shorts. I wonder why they didn't dress up with spacesuits and helmets for the occasion. What if that 9,200-pound satellite bonked into the shuttle a little too hard and the resulting leak killed them all? But I guess none of that really matters if you are just playing astronaut in some Hollywood basement.
This is a full-scale mock-up of the orbiter at the Space Division's facility in Downey. A typical payload is being erected out of the payload bay. These studies are being performed to get a feel for movement in and out of the orbiter and for techniques for the replacement of payload components. The derivatives of Space Shuttle for down-to-Earth benefits cover a broad spectrum. Communications satellites have made intercontinental television possible, reduced the cost of transoceanic telephone calls. Further cost reduction will occur when the reusable shuttle takes new and improved satellites into Earth orbit.
If they put that mock-up shuttle in a large studio and add some special effects, they can pretend that they are in space and fool the whole world. Well, most of it anyway.
And
straight from the college campus. Dale. Dale Gardner. That is just a quick scenes of life in orbit. Our first task, of course, was to deploy Telesat. It was a nighttime deploy, and so this is a TV picture, nighttime TV picture of the deploy. Looks more or less like in the day, you just can't see it too well.
But in this STS-51A clip, you can still see that this satellite prop is hanging on a wire, which completely shatters the illusion. Do you see the wire? Do you? Yes? Okay, good. I'm just making sure here.
Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome to our little zero-G fantasy land.
I love this video because it looks like animation, like something that somebody made, but it's actually real footage from the space shuttle. Real footage.
Yeah, it's real footage, alright. Nowadays, it's all multi-layered computer-generated images, but back in Katie Coleman's days, it was real footage of a real toy model ISS with a real toy model space shuttle docked to it, right next to the blasphemous, scientifically impossible globe Earth, which was of course a real projection. This whole International Space Station is about as real as Sharknado 3. Well, in a way it's exactly like Sharknado 3. It's a wild, utterly unbelievable, made-up story with lots of cheap CGI and no connection to reality at all.
Well, I think it looks so ridiculous and impossible. And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly. Like, we'd have way better CGI if it was fake.
Coming up next, a little clip by Russian cosmonaut Oleg Artemyev. He filmed the docking of a SpaceX Dragon capsule with the zero-G Fantasyland in 2024. Pay close attention to this and you will see what's wrong with it. Here it comes. Oops! Another CGI layer fail. We can see the Dragon capsule and the satellite dish through the window frame. There is no outer space, and that's why they have to fake it again and again and again to hammer it into your brain until you believe just about anything they tell you. They claim to remote control rovers on Mars, and they rammed some CGI spacecraft into some CGI asteroid 6.8 million miles away, and they sent software updates to Voyager 1, an old piece of equipment from 1977, which is now allegedly some 15.5 billion miles away from Earth. They tell us it's raining diamonds on Uranus and Neptune, and that the center of Earth's core is at a depth of 3,959 miles, even though the deepest borehole on Earth ever only reached a depth of 7.6 miles. The list goes on, and none of us can verify any of their fantastic claims. We have to blindly trust and believe them. They are trying to hide God, and this whole fake space, heliocentric, pseudoscience nonsense is one of their top devices to achieve that goal.
And you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Revelation 12:9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Take a wild guess where the SpaceX Dragon capsule got its name from. The Bible says that rebel angel Lucifer deceiveth the whole world. Don't you think it's possible that the whole world might include you too? Is your pride preventing you from admitting that you might be deceived also? Careful with that. Pride comes before the fall, you know? Could it be that the devil manipulated us all to think so highly of ourselves and to laugh about things like his existence and God's existence and the very real spiritual warfare we are in 24/7? If you are not under spiritual attack, you are doing something wrong. And the devil got you exactly where he wants you to be. Please think about it and do some actual real research. And stay away from mainstream media, Wikipedia, top Google results and from Satan's little helpers who call themselves debunkers and fact-checkers. Actually, read some of the free books in the description of this video and actually watch some of the videos I linked here. If you have time to watch shows and movies and sports and spend hours and hours on fun and games, then you surely can spare some time to read your Bible and seek God and research the truth. Jeremiah 29:13. And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search me with all your heart. Look at this official NASA Earth image from 2015. Flip it around. Do you see the three-letter word written in the clouds? They do that on purpose, to mock you, to mock us, to mock God Almighty. Coincidentally, SEX also stands for 666, if you're looking at the Greek alphabet. I could go now through a whole series of official NASA ball or BAL Earth images showing you copy-paste Photoshop clouds, different size of land masses, on the same side Earth, and so on. But let it be your homework. Go ahead and look at official Earth from space images and see for yourself how fake they all are. And look at photos of Antarctica from space. And then ask yourself, why are they faking all these images when they could just send some satellite into space with some ultra-high definition camera and snap a photo? Is it because the Earth is very shy and is always holding a hand in front of its face, like P-Brain pointed out in his brilliant Discover Reveal video? Please watch his video about this. It's very entertaining, funny, and it shows 100% truth. Also, explain how on July 8th, 99% of Earth's population experienced daylight or twilight simultaneously. Yeah, that's what they claim. 83% of the population experienced full daylight, another 16% was in twilight. And yeah, they say that happened on the scientifically impossible globe Earth. Wow. And why don't we have a high-tech camera or telescope on the moon which is showing us a 24/7 all-year live stream of Earth from space? People would pay good money to see that. Also, why don't we have a military base on there by now, or a hotel or some mining operation or something? Why do the Americans not officially reveal the Russian space fakery, like their play-pretend first spacewalk, or the ridiculous Lunokhod missions, or the Salyut and Mir space stations, and why don't the Russians publicly reveal the US space fakery? How can it be that the Russians and Americans are enemies on Earth? Just look at the Korean, Vietnam, Afghanistan or Ukrainian wars, for example, but friends in Antarctica and in space? And what about all the other space fakery, like the alleged Indian or Israeli moon landings, or the Chinese spacewalk, space station and moon landings? Why is no government agency or mainstream media outlet officially debunking these obvious lies? Look up how many international government agencies are working together to return to the moon, and all they ever show us is cartoons and nonsense. And NASA has now been piddling around with the technology to once again land people on the moon for more than 20 years and wasted billions upon billions of dollars and still haven't been back. Please, ask critical questions and think deeply about what's really going on. I could add some video clips that would make grown men weep like children, to open your eyes even more to how much you are being lied to on a daily basis. But that would instantly get this video flagged and banned and probably get my channel terminated again. So I'm not going to do that. No, right now they still allow videos like this one because it's also unbelievable and I'm just so silly and uneducated. That's why they put a little info box under my videos to tell you how wrong I am and how right they are. Isn't that nice? They do the thinking for you. And not only on YouTube, but also in schools, colleges and universities. If you just repeat word for word what the government-approved books tell you, you get an A+, and you are a great student. But does being able to repeat pseudoscience and lies really equal being a good student? Maybe all of you should also look into private central banking at some point. Okay, let's get back on track.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
This whole SEX in the clouds mockery just shows us once again where this globe Earth with an Earth pressure atmosphere right next to the vacuum of space without a solid barrier nonsense is coming from. Revelation 13:18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. According to the official story, Earth's axis is tilted 23.4 degrees, which leaves 66.6 to the other side. Earth's curvature is 8 inches per mile squared, which is 0.666 feet for the first mile, and so on, and we are going 66,600 miles per hour in our orbit around the Sun. The polar circles are located at 66.6 north and south latitude respectively. Peggy Whitson was 666 days in space. The astronauts, film and music stars, and people in powerful positions throw up 666 and devil horn hand signs all the time. Most of NASA's missions are named after pagan gods, and back in the Apollo days, they had an antenna array called Satan.
Valley Tracking Station was home to an antenna array named with the acronym SATAN. Along with the large dish at Honeysuckle Creek, Satan worked as a medium communicating messages from space to the children of men.
Sounds like a dark art.
It is. We've been honing our craft for more than 40 years.
The pagan heliocentric religion is held together by the magical force of gravity, theorized by one of the last sun-worshipping occultists and alchemists in 1666, Isaac Newton. And the list goes on and on and on. Isaiah 14:13-14. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. The devil wants to be higher than God, but he can't. That's why he invented this whole space lie, so he can at least pretend that he is higher than God, just like his fellow fallen angels and his little helpers pretend that they are going to space. Think about the Tower of Babel for a moment. God was not okay with that, but he allows us now to go way beyond the heavens into space? Sure.
To good girls and boys. I heard the Discovery was up in space working over the holidays, so I decided to stop by and visit my astronaut friends and deliver presents because they've been good girls and boys.
I am sorry, but at some point you have to let go of space, Santa Claus. Grow up and find the real purpose of your life, which is not seeking endless fun, pleasure and entertainment. Your true purpose is to serve God and worship Him alone. There, I just summarized Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life for you. You're welcome. True joy and true freedom can only be found when you are no longer a slave to your flesh, a slave to sin. True joy and freedom can only be found when you are free from all this self-destruction, when you deny your flesh, take up your cross, and follow the only one who is worth following. Your flesh will always fight your spirit and try to convince you that I am wrong and the world is right. So you can keep on doing what you are doing because according to the world, there is no God, no reason to seek God or to try to live a holy life. And living in sin is so much fun, isn't it? But once you realize that God is truly there, on His throne, looking down on us all, that this world is the center of His creation and that it's level and stationary, resting on pillars with ends and corners and a solid firmament above us, just like the Holy Bible describes it, all changes. And that's why this video will be on the bottom of the list on YouTube. The enemy doesn't want you to know the truth. That's why he has all kinds of devices to fool you, to deceive you, to keep you ignorant and in bondage. I could go on for days about this, but ain't nobody got time for that, right? Revelation 4:6. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne, and round about the throne, were 4 beasts, full of eyes, before and behind. That sea of glass, like unto crystal, that is the firmament. See for yourself how often that is mentioned in the KJV Bible. This is going to be my last video for a while. From now on, I am going to focus completely on my relationship with God and with my wife and children. I will pray for everyone who watches this video to understand that I am telling the truth here and to either find Christ because of it or to develop a deeper relationship with the King of Kings by realizing that God is way closer than you thought and not in some galaxy far, far away. In the meantime, please go to the Founded Earth Brothers channel, enjoy their videos and support their Beautiful Creation Standard School program. They are doing wonderful work there for the Lord. I also encourage you to go back to my old videos and see that there is a process to our salvation. We don't just find Christ one day and are instantly a perfect new creation. Well, at least I'm not like that, as is evident when you look at my older vids. I'm still a worthless sinner. And if I ever make it to heaven and get the lowest of the low positions up there and can polish the shoes of the saints or something like that, I will be the happiest man ever. Better to have the lowest position in heaven than to be a champion in hell. Please check out the links to the channels and try to read at least some of the books in the description of this video. You won't find them on your own by doing a casual Google or YouTube search. Censorship of truth is a real thing in our day and age, as are controlled opposition agents like Mark Sargent, Jaronism and other guys who love money so much that they don't care about the truth. They are gatekeepers and indirectly or directly work for the same liar who is trying to pull us all down into the pit with him. Stay away from people who tell you the truth about the shape of the earth but deny Christ. What does it benefit you if you know the truth about our world and still go to hell? And don't forget to visit Tell Me What You Love's channel. He is a true artist when it comes to making truth videos and he's doing good work for the Lord. Please like his videos and subscribe. Please share this video far and wide. Download it and save it and mirror it before it gets lost or banned or something. I will end this with a little clip by the fabulous Stinky Cash, followed by a little outro accompanied by an amazing song by the one and only Paul Caesar II, or PCs. His music is brilliant, and he's telling the truth in his songs, and that's why his music is censored and suppressed. Remember, space is fake. God Almighty is real. Biblical Earth is level and not a globe, and Jesus Christ is our beloved Lord and Savior.
Go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. But
how, in today's terminology, how powerful would you say it was?
Well, it was not as good as a laptop, but it was probably a little better than a handheld. It actually had, I mean, some of you that are computer nerds.
He's a pilot. He's not a nerd.
You know, you got to have gigs and that kind of stuff, and we didn't have gigs or even megs. The Apollo computer had 32K of fixed memory and 2K of erasable. That was it. No screen, no sound, no icons, no nothing. Just, and the keyboard just had, it had 0 through 10, read, clear, and enter. I think it might have been 1 or 2 more keys. We had no graphics, no screen, no. On its best days, it couldn't get to 1 megahertz. So it was slow and weak, but it got us there.
Love you, Daddy. I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad.
Looking out the window, it's crazy all that I've been through. I'll talk about it, sit and chill. It's his will. Why do those clouds seem so still? Am I a cloud? This does not seem real. Am I dreaming? If so, Messiah, wake me. If not, serve me another plate. Place me a little further down this road. Take me, and if the time's not now, I'll sit patiently and wait. And while I'm waiting, I'll continue to wait. This is fate, redirection, and continuous fate. I can see the tree of light, but I'm envisioning snakes, all trying to paint the same fate, vision of space. It's all fake, the creator is great, guaranteeing you and me no DNA of an ape. Ship and weight, cross the map, every state got a cap with a box, I got a tinfoil hat. Fact, mass, hear the preacher, rip off your mask, research Easter, even if it just passed. Look, cause it will be coming back. Who knows the time of day? Don't look at me. Get your things in order, I'm getting mine straight. Liquor stores in every corner, and they tell kids to get clean when they dream to be seen as an Epstein. Parents neglecting, how depressing. Nobody's perfect, but nobody's even stressing. I'm disconnecting, I feel nervous and numb, wondering if life like this, it has just begun. Damn, talk about something ruining your plans. I can't stand, and I had problems using my hands. I woke up like this, mind all bombs. Out of left field, tumor, I'm Barry Bonds. I'm Barry Bonds. Chemtrails falling from the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Firmament sitting in the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. I need some pressure relief. Please don't shoot the messenger, he's here using my brain. Questioning things, we still plant seeds, thankful as can be. Remember, we still level as the sea, the recipe to it. In other words, the key is love thy neighbor in order to be free. And that's easy to say, but it ain't easy to breathe. So I lay and I pray to become a better me. All in time, true meaning of a prophecy is what I say unravels. Are you really still down me? Sending the cavalry, the ones that ride. I give thanks to the son that died. Without Yahushua HaMashiach, I'll be swallowed by pride. But I'm alive, even past the day that I die. Can't be poisoned by food they've already tried. So as you hear these words I speak, take them as size. Or through spiritual warfare, take them as size. When your form it was written, continue to try, follow his lead, repent, stay by his side, bless you all. Seeking you will find. Firmament sitting in the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Missiles flying through the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. You are a human being, you don't need to get that thing. We have immune systems. Ever heard of fasting? What's your diet like? You mind that I'm asking? Cause it's up on the shelf, straight out the trash bin. For most these products, we can gain knowledge, but for a few more cents, superfood is garbage. You may not believe me, but regardless, eat organic or eat poison. Every one of us is targets, so that means till I am a carcass. This is what I'm screaming in the cartilage. Wish I knew all this back when my hair was parted, but in 2016 it started for me at least. Thanks to his peace, it has put my soul at ease, knowing he's the one that completes. Victorious, slaying all beasts and feeds and Palestine streets. Keep them in your prayers. Palestine weeps, believe. That's what Israel needs. The media's a monster, don't trust your TVs. Indoctrinate and conquer is really what you see. All praise be forever to him and his ways. Always any weather until the end of days. Missiles flying through the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Satellites float up to the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Hollywood is evil, it ain't about the business. More than half on the same flight log. The Diddy is been saying it thought you would understand the English, but all I heard was, come on, Siege, you sound ridiculous. All these years and clearly so conspicuous. Now you hear people never would have pictured this. Have them go to school, we will trick the kids. Brainwashing at its best, science book and a test. Give them homework, make them feel stressed, confused, cause Mr. Cruz wears a dress. I never thought ever that they went this deep. These rabbit holes, the passageways under the streets. History was made up to be believed. Are the ones that won't listen, the ones that stay asleep. I'm no better than you, I'm a fallible man. Blessed by the blood spilled out of the lamb. And I'm thankful to be right here where I am. Even though how this happened, I don't understand. I'm one of the ones that ride. I'm one of the ones that ride. Chemtrails falling from the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Firmament sitting in the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Missiles flying through the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies. Satellites float up to the sky. I've done my job, helping open other people's eyes. Tongue-tied, majority are left surprised when they realize that it's been all lies.